So you want to make cool Photoshop photos. It's understandable. This looks sick as fuck. And so does this. And also this. Well, what if I told you one of those photos was not Photoshopped? I guess you wouldn't be that surprised. Obviously, it's this one. No, sorry, this one. I took this photo with something people call practical effects. Here's the definition of practical for those of you who can read. Sorry for us. Someone you may know that's critically acclaimed for their use of practical effects. Christopher Nolan. He's the guy who directed this, and this, and this. I say critically acclaimed because he was literally presented the award for Best Practical Effects in the movie Oppenheimer, the movie about my YouTube career. It's about a giant bomb. Here's some scenes you may not have thought was actually practical effects. Yep, practical effects, as in real life. Look at this one. He literally flips half of a city over another city. What, not practical enough? The point I'm trying to make is that Nolan, one of the most reputable names in Hollywood, uses practical effects more than he uses special effects. Was able to gain that fame through a minority of special effects. Okay, if I were in English class, this is where Miss Teacher Lady would say, okay, you need a counter argument. And there's only one that comes to mind. Photoshop VFX it's still essential in photography and filmmaking. And I'd say that's true, because it is. There's no denying you're gonna need to learn Photoshop to improve your photos. Zero denial, actually. I think it's essential for you to learn, but with one T, I think it's important to understand that photography comes before editing. It's not the other way around. You can't have one without the other. But I think editing can be an extreme crutch. Instead, how about we try making the photos better in the first place, subjectively? I catch myself all the time saying, I'll fix that in post. Whether it's a street sign, background, just the photo in general. Like, if I'm looking at a terrible framed photo, like while I'm at a shoot and there's either a model or a car or there's people involved and I don't have all the free time in the world. Looking at my camera and I'm like, this picture is not gonna come out good. And I'll go home and I'll sit in Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever it is and I'll edit for hours on end just to make a shitty photo decent. Okay, so Mike, you want me to make my photos better during the shoot rather than in post? Yes. Now, how do you think I should go about that? I'm so happy you asked. When it comes to art, every person's opinion is going to be different. But there's 2 or 3 main things you can focus on during a shoot. Positioning of your subject and or the position of you opposite your subject, right? If your model isn't looking the best, pretty much tell them. Right, that's important. Don't ask. You have to tell them to loosen up. It's extremely uncomfortable to be in front of a camera. That's something us camera whores tend to forget. It's even worse when a person is aiming a camera at you, judging your facial expressions, expecting you to be perfect and not be the reason the photo's shit. Tell them to loosen up, move the car, change the direction of the light, whatever it is that you can improve the photo, do it. I like the think before you shoot method. Act like you're shooting film, whether you are or aren't. Act like you get one shot only. The only counter to that is that you have to do that every single shot. You have to act like you get one shot every single time you aim your camera at something. Obviously, we get 6 or 7. I mean, most of us are shooting on DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, and that's fine. But you have to put it in your mind that you only get 1 or 2 shots, right? Frame them perfect. Another thing that helps is imagine the photo in your mind. Get the frame as close to that as humanly possible. Whether it's scheduling a shoot for a specific time, for specific lighting conditions, or changing your lens out over and over until the depth of field is dead accurate to the frame in your mind. Editing will help a lot, but first try helping yourself beforehand to make editing even easier. Tip number 3, think outside the box. A long time ago, I thought of how cool it would be to create a photo where a car is doing a burnout, and instead of smoke coming out from under the tires, it's fire. That resulted in me spending countless hours of editing in Photoshop to create some disgustingly terrible photos. Then, poof, like a fat kid at a Chinese buffet, my idea was there. Why don't I actually do it? Real car, real photo, real fire. And so I set out on my journey to create a photo that I'd never seen before. Now, the first shoot didn't come out how I planned, but it was better than any Photoshop shit I'd made, so I was happy. Here's attempt number 2, and 3 and 4. I went with a more of Ring of Fire feel than an actual burnout, but still, my idea came to life without having to do anything fake, anything AI, anything Photoshop. I mixed a concoction of light painting and gasoline, and out came this fire-ass photo. Main idea, kids, don't make the photo, take the photo. Make it yours, edit it your way, sure, even spend hours and hours learning programs like Photoshop, Premiere, Lightroom, whatever it takes, but first and foremost, take the photo the way you want it to come out. Don't force yourself into an editing dungeon where you're going to spend hours and hours coming up with something you don't even love. Now, before I end the video, I'm forced by the YouTube gods to ask you to like and subscribe. But I'm also going to encourage you to comment any questions you have. Any ideas you'd love my opinion on, if you need help thinking outside the box, whatever it is, just don't stop being creative.